Most families think the hardest part of selling a parent's home is getting through the process, cleaning it out, making decisions, listing it, negotiating offers, closing escrow. They think once this is done, we can move forward. But here's what often happens instead. The sale closes, the keys are handed over, and then days or weeks later, something unexpected shows up. Grief. Not before the sale, after it. Today, we're going to talk about the emotional whiplash of selling the family home and why so many families are caught off guard by what they feel once the process is over. Hi, I'm Corpus, a Senior Transition Specialist and Seniors Real Estate Expert based in the San Francisco Bay Area. I help families navigate the intersection of housing, care, and major life transitions. And one of the most emotional moments I see that people rarely talk about is what happens after the home is sold. This is another episode of Sandwich Generation Solutions, powered by the Simplified Senior Transitions podcast, where we bring clarity to decisions that are often made under pressure. Let's dive in. For many families, the home represents far more than a physical structure. It's where holidays were celebrated, children were raised, milestones happened, routines were built, and memories were created over decades. It's a container for identity, for history, for belonging. So when families say we're just selling the house, they're not actually selling just a house. They're closing a chapter of life. And that emotional weight doesn't always show up right away. So let's talk about why emotions get delayed. During the selling process, families are often in execution mode. There are timelines, decisions, logistics, deadlines. You're thinking about clearing out belongings, coordinating repairs, reviewing offers, signing documents, and preparing for the next step. And when you're in that mode, your brain prioritizes action over emotion. You don't have time to fully process what's happening, so the emotions get postponed, not avoided, postponed. Once escrow closes, something shifts. The urgency disappears, the tasks are complete, the structure is gone, and suddenly there's space. Space to think, space to feel, space to realize that chapter is actually over. That's when emotions often surface. And for many families, it feels unexpected because they thought they had already handled it. Families describe this experience in different ways. Some say, I felt fine during the process, but after, it hit me. Others say, I drove by the house and didn't recognize it anymore, or I didn't expect to feel this emotional. This is what I call emotional whiplash. You go from high activity, high focus, forward momentum, to stillness, reflection, and loss. And that shift can feel sudden. What makes this even more complex is the grief isn't just about the home. It's about what the home represents. It could bring up the aging of a parent, the loss of a previous stage of life, the shift in family roles, unresolved memories, nostalgia. For some, it's the realization that the version of life we had in that home is over. That's a big emotional moment. So why don't families talk about this? Most people don't expect grief after a real estate transaction, so they don't prepare for it. And they don't always talk about it. They may think, I should feel relieved, or we made the right decision. Both can be true. You can make the right decision and still feel lost. That's what makes this confusing. One of the most important things families can do is simply acknowledge what's happening. Instead of trying to move past it quickly, allow space for it. That might look like revisiting memories intentionally, talking about the meaning of the home, acknowledging the transition as significant, and recognizing that grief and relief can coexist. This isn't a setback, it's part of the process. The families who navigate this best don't necessarily avoid the emotion. They just recognize it earlier. Before the home is sold, they take time to reflect on what the home has meant, have conversations about memories, prepare emotionally for the transition, and document or preserve meaningful moments. That way, when the sale closes, the emotional impact feels less sudden. Selling the family home is really just a financial decision. It's an emotional transition. It marks a shift in identity, in family structure, in life stage. And when families understand that ahead of time, they approach the process differently, with more awareness, more compassion, and more space for what comes after. So today we talked about the emotional whiplash that often follows the sale of a family home. Why grief shows up after escrow closes, because the home represents more than a structure. Emotions get delayed during execution mode. Stillness allows feelings to surface, and the transition represents a deeper life change. Selling the home may be the right decision, but it's still a meaningful loss, and acknowledging that makes the transition healthier. This has been another episode of Sandwich Generation Solutions, powered by the Simplify Senior Transitions podcast. If you're navigating a senior transition right now and trying to figure out the next step for a parent, here are some resources designed to help. For families, if you're navigating senior living decisions, downsizing, or trying to determine the next step for an aging parent, visit www.simplifyseniortransitions.com/families. This page provides guidance and resources specifically designed for families navigating senior transitions. And for senior care professionals, if you are a senior care professional who wants stronger positioning, clearer referral ecosystems, and more scalable systems for serving families in today's evolving senior care landscape, visit www.simplifyseniortransitions.com/professionals. If this episode brought you clarity, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Reviews help more families and professionals find the show before stress turns into crisis. I'm Dale Corpus, and I'll see you on the next episode.